Good morning and welcome to a very sunny North Dorset, and I'm sure it's probably the same where you are. It's been an absolutely scorching week, hasn't it, really? I love the sunshine, but yesterday was almost too hot. But I thought today I ought to be out in the garden, my trusty Pooch by my side here, greeting you all down in the south of the county. I hope you've all had a good week and have stayed safe and well. It's been very encouraging hearing the Prime Minister's announcement that churches can start holding public worship again, and it's great that in Swanage we're going to be able to start that in a small way next week and gradually hopefully build up from there. And who knows when it might be possible for the choir to get back together again in some shape or other in order to do some singing together, because I'm sure we're all a bit rusty. I certainly am. Anyway, as always, John and I have prepared a liturgy for this coming Sunday, which you'll find on the website www.swanishteam.com. I think that's right. Check that out. A couple of good hymns again. I shall be listening out to hear you singing. So, for my choice of music this week, it was a tough one actually. I was thinking, what shall I choose this week? But there's an anthem that I've always loved. I remember as a kid singing it as a chorister, and I've always loved directing it as well, by a favourite composer of mine, by Samuel Sebastian Wesley, who lived in the 19th century, who was the most extraordinary man. His father, Samuel Wesley, was a great composer. He wrote a fantastic piece called In Exit to Israel, which perhaps another week I'll talk to you about. Samuel Sebastian Wesley was actually a legitimate son, I think, with the housekeeper, but we will gloss over that. And his middle name, Sebastian, was given to him in honour of Johann Sebastian Bach, whom his father admired greatly. Anyway, Samuel Sebastian, SS Wesley, was a fascinating man. He held more organist's posts than I think anybody I've ever known. He was a great champion of trying to improve choral standards in the 19th century, many of which were in a really bad way. I gather from what I read about him that he was quite a cantankerous old goat. He could be really quite stroppy and antagonistic and difficult to work with, which might explain why he held so many positions. Anyway, in his 20s, he became organist of Hereford Cathedral, where the organ was broken, the choir was in a very powerless state. Most of us will know the anthem, Blessed Be the God and Father, which he wrote. And the story goes that the cathedral choir at that time had some boys in it, and one man who was the dean's butler. And Wesley wrote the piece for that, and we've filled it in since. It's quite a good story. But I don't think Wesley lasted very long at Hereford, and it wasn't too long before he moved on to Exeter Cathedral, where he did work hard at improving the choir, getting the organ improved as well. But I gather he fell out with the dean and chapter fairly early on. One of the things he used to do quite a lot was he had a great interest in fishing, and he used to go fishing rather than play for evensong or be there, which understandably annoyed the chapter. And so I don't know how good a fisherman he was, but after a while he got rather fed up with Exeter, excuse me, and then he moved up north to Leeds Parish Church, which he worked very hard at Leeds, probably had the best choir that he had there. It was at a time when rogue choirs were coming back, and he developed the choir and did lots of good things in Leeds, wrote music, commissioned music. But again, he didn't stay for too long, had itchy feet, and then he went down south again to be organist of Winchester Cathedral. He got on well with the choir, he had a very good salary, but he didn't really like Winchester. He didn't make many friends, and he was soon out fishing and indeed sailing as well. Again, the dean and chapter of Winchester didn't like it too much, so he didn't last very long at Winchester. And finally, he ended up at Gloucester Cathedral, back at the three choirs which he dealt with at Hereford, where he stayed for a while. Again, he built up the standard, etc., etc., but it was always difficult. He was always falling out with people, and he died there eventually, but he's buried back in Devon, which was a great love of his. Long story, but a fascinating man, worth reading up about. Anyway, Blessed Be the God and Father is a great favourite of mine, but the piece I want to point you to today is a piece called Ascribe Unto the Lord. Now, at St Mary's, we sing the final section of this, which is The Lord Hath Been Mindful Unto Us. Anthems written in this period, in the 1850s, were of a certain genre, a lot in sort of in sections, and Ascribe Unto the Lord falls into that. It has the most amazing opening. The tenors and basses sing this wonderful, rich, sonorous melody, and then the full choir comes in. And I always remember as a chorister feeling so excited when we sang As for Our God, He is in Heaven. It was just wonderful. There's a beautiful little trio with trebles and altos, O worship the Lord in the beauty of holiness. Then a bit which every chorister loves, As for the gods of the heathen, they are but idols. And it's set in a sort of quasi-fugal way, and it's very, very dramatic and just so exciting to sing. There's a lovely little alto, tenor and bass section as well, which is really beautiful. A big, powerful, full section declaiming God in heaven. And then finally the very beautiful The Lord Hath Been Mindful at the end, which still to this day, after so many years, I just find so deliciously beautiful. So worth a listen. It's about 12 minutes long, but it's worth it. Very, very dramatic, and his sense of harmony is really quite extraordinary for the 1850s. He was a genius, but a very flawed genius indeed. So do have a listen to that. I've put a link on my email, and I've also attached the words as well, just so that you can see them. And it's a performance I'm directing you to by the great Edward Higginbottom at New College, Oxford. So enjoy. So here we are. It's warm-up time, or actually it should be cool down time because it is so warm out here, but I thought we'd do it outside today. So I imagine a number of you are probably going to be in your gardens over this weekend, although maybe it's going to rain tomorrow, but we shall see. So let's just think about our posture, that we're nice and relaxed, our knees aren't locked. I'm having a little wiggle here, I'm having a little shake, okay, and I'm going to have a little stretch. I'm going to go one way, and I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go down, and I'm going to roll my shoulders, and I'm going to roll my shoulders forwards, and I'm going to roll my shoulders back, and I'm going to roll my shoulders forward again, really gently, like that. Excellent. Just feeling all loose. I'm going to have another little shake. There are all sorts of things that you can do, I know. So let's start off just with sliding our fifths, okay? I've got my trusty pitch pipe here somewhere. I wish I had perfect pitch, but I don't. That's a C. So we're just going to go humming, just going. Okay, here we go. Semitone higher. Semitone higher. And another one. And another one. Now at the same pitch we'll now put the n with our tongue behind our top teeth. Just a bit more nasal, a bit louder, semitone higher. Semitone higher. Semitone higher. One more. Great, and now let's just do to ya, mezzo forte, going ya 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 ya. Okay, ya 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 ya. Semitone higher. Ya 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 ya. Semitone higher. Ya 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 ya. And the next one. Ya 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 ya. And the next one. Ya 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 ya. And another one. Ya 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 ya. One more. Ya 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 ya. Excuse me. Good, and now we're going to do exercise. We go down a scale to Tony, Tony, like this. In C major, we'll start going Tony, 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 Tony. With me, go. Tony, 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 Tony. Semitone higher. Tony, 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 Tony. And it's semitone higher. Tony, 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 Tony. And another one. Tony, 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 Tony. And another one. Tony, 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 Tony. One more. Tony, 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 Tony. Okay, and we'll finish just with some triads. I'm just enjoying the sun here, actually. The cows are looking very comfortable over there. I hope I'm not putting them off. No, I don't think so. All right, so we're just going to go to R. We're going to go R. Off you go. R. 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 Keep that support, and the next one. And the next one. Think about that soft palate being raised, and the next one. And the next one. And the next one. And the final one. Okay, jolly good. So you can practice those as much as you like and go as high as you like or not, depending on how you're feeling. But there we go. So that is this week's warm-up. We are now week 15, I think. Week 15, goodness me. Okay, so as ever, please stay safe and enjoy your week. I hope we get some more sunshine. Hope you don't get too many visitors. Hope Swanage doesn't turn into another Bournemouth. But hopefully see you soon, and in the meantime, look after yourselves.